So I think it's episode 4.
Episode 4?
It was
Yeah.
last one was on the radar.
That's right.
And we're back to normal schedule.
Yes.
Just been a minute.
Took a moment, but that's okay. We've got a lot on. Some of us more than others.
Yeah. We've been out on the trails.
Yes, we have been on the trails.
Some crazy trails. What have we been doing for the last couple of weeks? Tell me what's going on down in the Illawarra trail running community for December.
Yeah, we're bringing together Downhill December.
Yeah.
A little off the grid, official, unofficial event that we sort of put together with the local trail group, Cyclic Coasters, which is a pretty amazing and far-reaching community now.
There's a few members.
Well over 1,000. It's been really interesting, actually, this whole program. So I came up with a bit of a plan to go, let's get people together. Which is, part of the whole thing of the social group, really. There's no membership fees, there's no money changing hands. It's just trying to bring people together in the Illawarra who are interested in running, trail running, those sort of things. So the Seacliff Coasters, named after the bridge. And so, sort of thought, what's a cool little incentive end of the year? Because there's been a lot of big events on and, just out there doing stuff. But let's get some more people together, designed to, if you want to have a crack, but also just bring people together. That festive Christmas, December thing. So Downhill December was inception.
It's launched.
It has launched.
We're past the first week.
We are. So 3-week series of events focused entirely on the downhill. So you can come and do a nice quick little 1K downhill or less. The first week was less.
Yeah.
The second week's a little bit more, and the final week's going to be more again.
And for anyone, so I think as much as we might talk about downhill running, and it's can be sort of a bit hardcore, but this is sort of a gauge of everyone being involved in it.
Absolutely. So when I sort of first brought it together, the idea was just get it together social, and then sort of thought, well, let's put a little incentive in it. So I thought would make up a couple of little awards based on, our Strava segments and interest in that area. Yep. So made some awards, fastest male, fastest female, local legend. Easy, right? But the big thing is that social aspect. Yeah. So come along. If you want to have a crack, then have a crack. But if not, I've put it together. I'm not gonna compete. Yeah. So I'm going to tour guide it, and let's do the party in the back, and bring everyone. If you're unsure about trails, or you're uncertain about going downhill, or I'm too slow, or any of that, not having it. Come and hang out, take you down we'll hike it if we want. So meet people who you haven't met before, make new friends, find some new paces, all that sort of stuff. Really build that social aspect, but meet some new trails, find some new trails, find some new routes that you might not have experienced before as well.
Yeah. And it's been a great turnout.
It's been amazing. Yeah. The response has been huge. We had a great turnout, and the really cool thing is local running shop, Coastal Mountain, sort of went, hey, that looks cool what you guys are doing. How about I throw in some actual prizes? So because I made some token medallion sort of thing, but give something, and handmade little things, but now there's there's some nutrition and money
and big vouchers, giveaways.
It's been amazing.
Yeah,
and when that came on board, and Christine's really amazing in that respect because she's sort of got the similar values around that community. So found some other ways to offer some prizes that everyone's eligible for. So that's been really amazing too. And so if it goes really well, let's do more.
That's right. Yeah, good introduction, finish off the year, and then flow into nice summer for we're in summer now. We'll get January in 2026.
Absolutely.
So we're I think now on episode 4, and we're going to tackle on this episode mindset.
Absolutely.
So some of the things that we've talked about so far is just getting into who we are and what we've been doing. Things are on the radar, some races that are coming up. But this is a topic that's, I suppose, varying in depth
I think one of the pertinent things for us
Yeah.
that this has come up about, because we throw around different ideas around how we're going to tackle the
Yeah.
podcast
Yeah.
and what's next. And I think this was really relevant based on particularly yourself, some
Yeah.
of your recent experiences with
Mhm.
some big sort of wins,
Yeah.
absolutely, around going and doing the backyard
Yeah.
ultra, which was a huge effort,
Mm.
and then within a few weeks, because of the rescheduling and
Yeah.
stuff, within a few weeks, rolling into
Have a
COSI,
tackle. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there is. Oh, like we talk a lot about, what the body can do and how far we can go. Like that's ultra stuff, but
Yeah.
a big part of that is the mindset.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made this
Yeah.
particular topic
Yeah.
quite.
Yeah, and we a little bit of time, and that's probably part of this process because I don't think I was in any position, for the first couple of weeks to probably talk about some of those items,
Mm,
in how they affect you, and what that means. So a couple of weeks ready to uncrack our experiences,
yeah,
talk about things that we've gone through. So a bigger component of that is about the mindset capability. There's
absolutely.
probably in some of the shorter sort of distances, you can punch and there's mindset to get you to performance, but sometimes on the other side, it's, endurance and there's lots of time that's out there and your mind can drift and things like that. So what's your experiences in a couple situations where you found that maybe you've known that your mind sort of probably played some games in that. So physically able to do it, but your mindset sometimes being the limiter.
Yeah, because we talk about running. It's a physical thing. Put
Yeah,
some shoes on, go for a run,
yeah.
right? And but what even in that first bit,
Mm,
that's the limiter.
yeah.
Just getting off the couch,
Yes.
just
Yeah,
getting up away from the office,
yeah,
like that's the first hurdle.
yeah,
If you've never run,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So we all
Bring it
experience it.
all the way back, as you're
Yeah,
saying, from the couch perspective,
absolutely.
the ability to be consistent
Yeah.
and turn up
So
and go again.
yes,
And what am I doing? Why am I doing this? There's a
yeah.
huge, obviously, mental component to be able to walk away with trying to identify progress at all. And why am I doing this? So at the foundation of that is the why. So we all talk about the why probably in a the purpose of something to drive you in the back half of a race. But coming back to the daily, the weekly, why am I doing this? There's obviously a big component of that getting you going again. Well, I say getting going, starting to run, to go back and go again. The mindset obviously has a large component to that.
Yeah.
So is there tricks or times or things that you use to try to get you to turn up each time?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think, yeah, again, taking it back to
Yeah,
that first time, the first
yeah,
experience of running, like, what am I doing? Because certainly when I started,
yeah,
it was, again, through the experiences we've talked about with
yeah,
starting
yeah,
running and going, why am I gonna pay someone
yeah,
to tell me to run in that direction?
yeah,
That's stupid, you know? And then once you get a bit of a taste for it's hard. Why should I come out and go for a run? What's driving me? It might be fitness.
yeah,
Like I want to lose some weight. I want to be a bit more healthy or whatever. And you move through those
yeah,
sort of things, and then eventually it does become a habit.
yeah.
So I think for me now, um, it is like particularly because I don't have anything immediate
Mm,
on the radar
yeah,
as
as
such.
you say, yeah,
There's
yeah,
no, I don't have an event or immediately
yeah,
anyway. Like,
yeah,
so what am I doing? It is maintaining that consistency.
yeah.
So not
So
having to go back to square one.
yeah, so you've developed that obviously in undertones of training and that attachment to some goals. So, if I was sitting down to start doing some training and running, is like and that why is it's having a couple of those goals. Like so, the maturity of it gets now where it gets a little bit of sort of autopilot,
Yeah.
a bit natural. Look, the routine's going on. If I don't get back out and running, and eventually it's just convincing yourself to put the shoes on and get out, and those motions start to happen automatically. But in early stages, wise components being, well, setting a goal for a race is one item, like we talked about previously, or maybe it is just a lifestyle goal. So actually knowing and either writing those down and having a bit of a mental note of why am I exercising? Why am I doing this? And having that as a reminder gets you back going again. And then that then evolves into more than getting out the door and putting the shoes on. But once the shoes are on, actually working out the mindset when you're physically running. Do you find that what gets you going again to keep repeating? So I know that I'm doing this for enjoyment, things like that. But at the back half of your runs, when you're out there, if you're running for an hour, half an hour, what does that look like in your head? To just open that up and go, okay, I'm running. What flows through the mindset, right? When you're out there.
Like I think for me, it's what's next. What do I want out of this? Where am I going with this? And certainly at the moment, it is all about that journey. Like if I stop now and then I lose that fitness and I lose the muscle tone, and we go through those waves, right? That's part of training. If that's your goal, you build to an event, you break yourself down, you come back down, and then you sort of set a
that's
intention.
That's acknowledgement of that in that process of training, right? Because that is part of that patterning of knowing that what's occurring.
And so my thing is certainly setting these big goals of adventure, or the life journey. Like what's next? So for me to putting myself out there and to keep going, even when, like at the moment, it's hot. Going out, it is hot. Doesn't matter what time you go out, you're cooking. But I personally want to maintain that fitness, and so it means going out a few times a week to just to have a bar and set that bar and stay on that bar. That's my second thing, and then the third thing is long-term fitness or health rather is probably the thing. So because if I just go, I'm done. I need to take 6 months off, right? But if I do that, then 6 months comes around, maybe it turns into 12 months, or even if it doesn't, even if I'm really driven and I can do that 6 months, if I'm back to square one, then the build is going to be so much harder.
It's leading to not just the physical.
No.
You have to mentally, again, the balance of that is that you're doing the work, but you also go, geez, I've left this late. So much more work to do. And that summed up the conversation we have is like the grind around trying to deal with mentally, trying to get yourself up to speed physically.
Because everything you do sets a different tone and a shift in your mind, and you start dropping things out and something else takes that up, and maybe it's something else cool, but then it's like, oh, it's harder to get out for that run now, or maybe that's not important to me anymore.
So the shift out of maintenance mode, into that. So if you're out and running now, like examples, it's a heat of the day, and you're out there sort of training. So does the mindset while you're doing that run, are you able to attach your mindset when you're doing that run to your external mindset of what you're training towards? Or are you, I'm just doing my 12Ks for today, and the mental attachment, to your larger training block is not actually occurring, and are you just focused on the item that you're doing at that time?
A little bit of both, I think. Like certainly I'll sort of set my goal of some kind of weekly training goal. So like I want to maintain roughly this.
So if you're doing speed days and tempo days, as an example, not in training blocks, but you probably treat those as being just execution of doing sets and reps. And then if you got to your long run scenario, are you just going trying to attach where the mind goes when you're doing that run? What's the thought pattern? Is it just navigation? Is it because I'm having a conversation with someone? Are you prepping about, geez, am I race planning in my head towards what's coming up? Some of those types of things that go through your mind?
Yeah, again, all of the above. I think that I'll go through phases of solving the problems of the world,
Yeah.
designing my own destiny and
Yeah.
fate, and like, what am I doing? Where am I going? That's when you sort of, you're in a good rhythm because you're just moving forward,
Yeah,
and you're not autopilot, but particularly when you've got a set route, I have to get to this point before, to turn around, or this loop to turn around. So then you can autopilot, and then you go, okay, cool. What am I planning? What's the day going to look like? What's work got on? There might be those sort of things, as opposed to when it is a bit tough, like you're out there and it's hot. Ooh, it's hot.
Yeah.
I could pull a K. Like maybe I won't. I'll take. I'll knock off a K or two, or I'll take a shortcut. That can creep in too. So
do you find most times there, Josh, that you can? I sort of negotiate. I don't know. I've talked about before about negotiating up versus negotiating down. So if I'm finding what I'm doing at the moment, obviously it's being hard, like breaking that up and negotiating that as being, well, I'll get to this spot and then I'll worry about what's happening sort of after that. So if I'm doing it, climbing up a mountain or something like that, and it's hard. It's like, instead of thinking about 30 kilometers ahead or 5 kilometers ahead, it's like just thinking about, okay, let's just get to the top of this climb and then for the next section.
You got to set those goals, set those points. Okay, I just need to get to that corner.
Yeah,
and then we work out what's next. Or I need to do 5 minutes, and then I work out what's next.
Yeah, okay.
So just plan that next K.
But the switch is there, right? You've got the ability, to be able to do. And is that something you think that's been there the whole time?
Since day one of running? No. I don't think so at all.
So that's something that's been, you feel that you've developed all through confidence of trail running.
Yes.
That then that autopilot balance that takes care of business as you're going, but then when you get to the difficult time, that you actually can then start to negotiate or pick spots, and not that it might get overcome with the size of the hill of effort that you got to do, that you can sort of put that to the side and then deal with obviously the challenge and negotiate the challenge mentally with yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And, intervals are a great one for that.
Okay.
You might have had a terrible night's sleep, or, whatever. And it's, I've got to get up. Now I'm going to do how many? I'm going to do like 5 1K reps or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm so tired. I can't. No. Get up. Just go and do one.
Okay.
Okay, go and do one, and then you've done your K, you've done your 200, and you're on your rest period now. So then you can reset.
That's when reset and go again. So similar to I think going back to doing the backyards and the formatting of the yards and making them quicker. So even having that challenge of setting items to be quicker than what the last yard or the last segment was. So similar, you put yourself in a bit of a hurt locker. So it's the same negotiating scenario where mentally you're having to challenge yourself to turn up again or to do the next one. Okay. Yeah. And that sort of, it definitely does find that builds capacity, to deal with the situation that's out there.
I remember run with you one morning, I believe. It was dark. Running from Bulli. I've been doing lots of mountain stuff.
Birthday run.
Yeah, like run lots of mountain runs and stuff. And then we had this sort of flattish run all the way to Mount Kira, and we're running along, and I'm like, oh my god, when's the walking break? So and it wasn't there until we actually hit that mountain. So it's like, and let's just
hold on to
forward, and that was nice because we were there together. Like if it was just me doing it on my own, I think the mental facility there would have been, okay, I'm just going to take a break, like go for a walk, and then I'll start it again. But I was sort of chasing you at the time, and I'm like, okay, let's go. You're still moving forward. Okay, I got to keep running. I just got to hold on.
I think I do remember running up Mount Kira Road, and I'm like, when are we actually going to start walking?
Yes.
I'm thinking, different. When can we turn this off?
Yeah.
Going, sorry, I'm in front of Josh. Keep going.
And it was wild because it was like running around like an extreme weather event. So Mount Kira Road was closed, and we went up with rocks over
there. We went up to the top. That's right. And that was very early. I think we started at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
For
that's
context.
Right. I was trying to. dark for a long time. Yeah.
So just the training challenges that you find, on a weekly basis, say every day, but what do you sort of see occurring in your schedule?
Well, the schedule of life,
Yeah,
really, isn't it? Um, yeah. So, like, particularly, like I said, at the moment, maintenance, right?
yeah,
It is just, which can be its own challenge too, because if you're used to doing sort of bigger Ks every week, and then you sort of you ease off and
yeah,
you're not doing as much, so now say, oh, I could sleep in a little bit longer.
yeah,
That's fine, and then you lose time very quickly. You go, oh, hang on, I've got to be at work in 2 hours, and I
mm,
haven't
yeah,
been for a run
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
And
So just the shift in moving out of a pattern,
yes,
both ways.
yeah,
Talk about some of those in a second. So leading into volume and then coming out of volume,
yeah,
both have their challenges
yes.
to get the gear back to consistency. Do you find external factors around that? Like you train a lot at the moment during the week by yourself, so that's
Yes.
you having to get out to do those items. What other things can influence around that?
Shifting stuff around family, around work, sort of around the aging body
Yeah,
too, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
Different things that can and things that can just get thrown at you last
yeah,
minute as well. So I guess certainly for me with work, uh, my schedule's a little bit, it's not super regular. And so sort of scheduling those runs in. So if I, when I get into doing peak sort of stuff, and maybe I want to do some doubles,
yeah,
run in the morning, run in the afternoon,
yeah.
that's going to be
Harder.
less
Yeah,
viable. So how do you redefine your training
yeah,
schedule, and place those different pieces? And then you've got the stresses of work, the
yeah,
stresses, like if something major changes at work,
yeah,
which I guess we were talking about, like
yeah,
you could probably really talk to that at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah. Okay. So, well, as an example, coming out of Reds, not probably hitting anywhere near where I wanted to go, and that came out of physical issues, so feet issues,
So
realizing,
there's two things there,
yeah,
right? Because that's a huge event.
yeah,
So the mental, like that's physical fatigue, yes.
yeah.
There's mental of no real sleep and event like the physical and
So
the
going,
mental
so
toll.
going from race day through to when do you feel actually back human
Yeah,
again?
and
Yeah.
so the huge event and then the disappointment. Well,
Yeah.
is that too strong a word?
I was kind of like, but
Yeah,
mentally, I was during the race that, I mean, I didn't want to be doing it anymore.
yeah.
And I wasn't no, sorry. I wanted to be doing it, but I got to the point that I was disappointed that the whole year and the extended training block, which is probably what came to it, had pulled me so far out of trail running of what I
Mm,
go to and what I enjoy the most, that I had felt like I'd double sacrificed what I was actually doing. And it's like I didn't get what I wanted, but I didn't actually have enjoyment of getting away on the trails and doing things. Yeah, running and getting out on the trails and hanging out with friends and doing those things. I'm like, I've missed all these things because I've just been here doing loops, looking at blades of grass. That's what it felt like. And it's just, I don't want to be doing this, anymore. And come out of it, you're like, all I want to do is just go back and do trail running, um, versus the backyard, and that sort of took me a while to sort of process, a what I'd done, and it's a distance, it's X amount of hours, and great that yes, it's a PB, but it's not doesn't resonate as being something that's been an achievement from my perspective.
mm,
I'm then trying to go, well, how do I move forward from that? It took a while physically, and that has a big influence, to talk about the mental component. But it did took 4 or 5 days for me to then start to process about like what occurred, how do I handle that item to move forward. But what compounds that, especially in the backyard, in that distance, and probably in milers and similar,
mm.
when you've spent a lot of energy, the physical toll, and I was sick for a couple of days, is like I couldn't fog in your mind and be able to process just wasn't there.
Mm.
So trying to balance not going down the rabbit hole of those items is something that you have to be very, very careful. And I think I found it easy once I've verbalized how, like, as now talking about, once I've verbalized that with, my wife and my friends, and my group, okay, I've actually externally sort of verbalized that and made it a lot easier than to go, okay, pack that up, know what that is, and move on. But on the flip side of how do you then deal with that moving forward, it's like, how do I get back to running? And I was like, I can't. I've got a foot that's, having a lot of issues. And as part of all this is the running is the spot that you go to, typically to process mental thoughts of, it's my escapism of what I do, but I can't. I've got to go for a walk. Walk hurts. And every day you're dealing with now another injury, another item that's going on, and you're just spinning in your head, just trying to find somewhere to ground yourself to. And that's how I typically try to get moving again. That's what I've always typically done with my running. If I get moving, I'll get out of the chair and thinking about, internal thoughts. I can get going again. And then, okay, that helps me start to process and breathe, and think. And that took a period of time to do for the week. Then, as you're alluding to, is like turn the page and it's like, oh, I've been hiding this fact that in 4 weeks I've got to go do a miler. So mentally, I'm trying to deal with how am I going to get the body ready to go do that. And it wasn't. So it was just going to be get to the day and turn up and run on memory from that perspective. And I think I knew that I once you had set that in your mindset that that's what's going to be the case and it is what it is, that's out there, fine. But yep, 2 feet in, like that's my mindset going to be in. Can't turn up to those events not being all in. Mentally just deal with the things that happen during the day, process that. But yeah, it's a hard way to think about trying to run those things back to back. And now you pay mentally. Now I don't know how many weeks it is now. It's like I think it's 2 weeks from nearly race day, and you just have to package them up.
Yep.
At the end of the day, you can't rerun them. So mentally, just raw mode. Like you can't go back and redo that race. You can think about it as much as your head that you want to redo and have redemption, but that's it. The race, that's the race. That's what it was. And what do you learn from that? Is trying to pull items out of that you can use or use those as building blocks, to the next event or life. It doesn't have to be about running, but okay, what did I learn about myself? What did I, if you find those positives out of it, then they definitely allow you to, create a loop. If that's or why am I doing this? You're learning about yourself. You're trying to be a better person. Experiences. That's the whole cycle that you're actually doing. So if you can pull something, even the negatives, find some of the positives about what am I doing, what am I learning about myself, but actually do something with it instead of just go, oh, well, pack it up. What was the point then of doing that? So you can always turn it into something positive, even if it's a building block and a learning block.
And so a thing that can get talked about a lot in physical training is the whole time on feet principle, right?
Yeah.
Where you go out for a 3-hour run or an hour, but whatever it is. So, and you'll block that together. And then when we're talking about ultra and we talk about life and we sort of take that principle to a bigger stage, what's the extra stresses on the body for that?
Yeah.
So too with the mental training piece, like you're thinking about training a lot and you're out there doing the training a lot and you're building those blocks. And so like we've just talked about, with days of like physical and mental fatigue running this backyard, then you've got the thought process of, okay, I've got another big event in like 3 weeks and I've got to recover and that, but I've got to go to work. And then the mental fatigue of, a big job I'm doing at work with the business.
It goes wrong,
it falls
life.
apart. So there's mental stresses there as well. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's juggling in life, and also saying earlier about it. The challenges about training and patterning. So I think with the mindset, if you can sort of physically getting you moving and going, but it creates a little bit of room so you can mentally then try to deal with items. But yeah, the challenges be, you think you got it all right and you get a curveball. So two things, for example, happen that leading into COSI to the miler. One, obviously, a work-related item that obviously took a lot of time and involvement for about a week and a bit beforehand, that created a lot of pressure, and not from. I mean, I wasn't training a year in taper, so those things are sort of, would be in the same a lot of free time component from physical free time, but mental free time is very hard. You have to get to a situation where you have to lock away, ready for the run and just go, okay, I'm ready for this event. But I knew that if I had my gear, my items prepped, and I had the stuff that I knew from experience, that I could check that list off. And that's how I'm processing. Well, there's a list. I'll tick those things off. I know I've got a 6-7 hour drive down, to COSI. We're going a good day and a half beforehand. Okay, if I can just get to that milestone, like climbing the hill to the next tree, if I can just get to that, I'll be able to tick off mentally that things are okay and then turn up for the run. And then we had some, so life challenges going on, and my wife, who was going to come through, then couldn't come down for the race. So then my eldest daughter had a chat, and she was keen to come down to do that. And it just happened to be that changed the whole mindset of about, like, I'm just going for a run and spending some time with my daughter down there, going out. We had some crew that couldn't run, so they were going to be turned into crew, and obviously running with Josh for doing first miler, because I just changed the mindset. So great physically, we'll work out, it's a long distance end of the day, but the mental just changed. So, like, I can turn my voice talking about it. You just feel that how I just shifted out of being a bit of stress, like, oh, I've got this thing coming that I've got to do, that I've signed up to, and how I'm going to get this thing done, to being like, just wait a second, it's just a run and it's life, and go experience it and enjoy it. You can turn the corner of that, talking about before we obviously started the pod, is that, but then it does back of the mind, that little critic that sits there goes, well, here's my whole year. What have I actually achieved? And you can be very critical about going, well, I had a couple of races that I set some, these are my expectations that I want to do. One side, that's what drives you, right? On the other side is, wait a sec, I'm being a bit critical towards my result, to what I've done, but I've actually done quite a bit. But then you can, that's your own worst critic. You're looking, oh, gee, that was disappointed, but I'll, turn that into a positive. Yeah, let that drive you. What do I need to be doing, to try to make that achievement, moving forward? Even if I don't get that again, great, but what do I need to do to train better, or mental, physical, nutrition? That's how I look at that, and just try to go, okay, I just need to be a little bit more locked in on these couple of different things, and that just gives you some higher level goals. Doesn't let everything else disappear, but just tries to put a couple of those higher on the radar that I need to focus on for the next thing coming up.
Do you get a bit of the, I don't have to do this, I get to do this? Some people, like, there's a lot of people who can't, or
Yeah,
like, get to do these amazing things.
yeah. When you're out, there's moments. This is that we were talking about earlier, about where the mindset sits of, are you just in the mode of doing it, or can you detach yourself from that? And definitely a lot of training mentally. So you about earlier about how you sort of pull that sort of together, is spend a lot of time beforehand, like with gratitude and just some time out and meditation. And then Alex, coach, really will emphasize about detaching your physical running sort of component of what you're doing to your mindset, to who you are when you're actually running, so that you can process. So whether or not that's a higher level evaluation of what you're doing and how you're processing, but also having that ability to just enjoy and smile, like, that flows all the way through. Then the more positive component that you can have, that opens up that capacity to deal with challenges that are in front of you, as well. In those items, Josh, if we talk about it always hurts. Like mindset is typically been brought up to deal with you've talked about the positive things just then, but talking about the negative things, which you're trying to deal with pain and what's going on with you in races. And I've probably had some comfortable, hard races, but you've had some big races that have been, where you've got, not even in country, overseas. So, what's your experiences with, well, I think 3 of them now, taking us through different races where all 3 have been, say they're pain cave sort of moments where you've had to battle through, those moments. So I know Western States was one of those. Well, I think all 3 of the big races overseas have been like that. So just talk us through some of those races and how you've had to deal with all those challenges.
Yeah, it's super interesting because like the physical logistics of those are huge, but then the mental logistics, that's an extra load.
Yeah.
So certainly this year, going to Japan doing Fuji,
Yeah.
I had language barriers and stuff that I had to really navigate and work out. So the mental load, and certainly on the morning of the event, before it even started, there was so much I had to navigate, which just drove me down.
I don't know, have we talked about the whole, I don't know if you have in this forum, talked about getting there and the struggles of just starting line and all the things around.
Absolutely. I don't think we have.
And not being your first one.
No, that's right.
This is like your 3rd overseas major race.
Yeah, doing it solo. Yep. Yes, I had family there, but I essentially said to them, "You guys go and do whatever you're doing. I'll be gone for 2 days. I'll see when I get back." So, it's working out where you're going to stay. Can you afford to do this? Where's the money coming from?
Okay, so prep even before getting there is like, I want to go do this. I've signed up.
Yeah.
Now I'll work out how to make that happen.
And I'm going to be in an area I've never been to Japan before. I'm somewhere I don't know the language, I don't know the area, never been here before, don't know the currency. So many things that you constantly got to be thinking of before you get to the start line.
And people will say, people that know you in character will just go, you'll just wing it.
Yes.
But it's not about, it's present of mind knowing, that, it's not like I'm just going to go and I'll work it out, but before doing it, you've got that pressure on you.
Absolutely.
So how does that play? Does it panic you? Does it I just know that's going to be something I have to work out, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty good like that. I sort of take most things in Australia. I'll work it out when I get it is that sort of thing. I'm the guy who rolls into an aid station and goes, "Hey, black tea, that's what we're doing. Okay, let's go." You don't have any water? Okay, then just fill it up with what you've got. Or, these gels don't have any English on them. Give me one of those.
Yeah, okay, wow. Okay. So mindset-wise allows that a little bit of flexibility to deal with the dynamic,
Absolutely.
But it's still happening.
And that's right. But, even regardless of that, you still have to have some preparation and some knowledge. So certainly, Colombia was a huge one because I had no idea what they were going to have on course.
Okay.
And so I did pre-plan that. I had, a big bag of tailwind, which I took internationally, and there was logistics around that. I'm like, I don't know how that'll work. But then packing that the night before, thinking, this is what it's going to be, and then it coming up short.
Yeah.
So what the package said was
that's
not.
what I remember you saying.
Yes, and so now I'm short on what I thought I had going into an event that I don't know what's going to be on course. And so there's already oh no, I'm freaking out. What do I do? You've got to manage it because there is no alternative. I'm in a country where I don't even think tailwind's sold in,
whatever. Yeah.
So you got to work it out.
Yeah.
But it is a mental load. Japan was a great example of that. That was a huge day of mental load before even we started.
But you haven't explained what it.
So I unfortunately struggle to sleep the night before an
Yeah.
event, so that's already,
Okay.
a thing that, and I know that that's going to happen or it's likely to happen, so I'm a little bit prepared for that,
Mm.
but that's still okay. I haven't slept, and now I'm gonna be out there because 'cause I'm not a 14-hour miler
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna be out there
And these
for
big races, so
well over
yeah.
20 hours,
Yeah.
you know? So a night of no sleep when, and particularly with Fuji starting in the afternoon,
Yeah.
so the higher
Wow.
likelihood is I'm out for 2 nights.
Yeah.
So that's 3 nights
Yeah.
of no sleep. So what am I gonna do with that? How do I manage
Mm.
that? Like, you try and really understand what is gonna be at the aid station and what can I put into drop bags, and what,
Yeah.
so manage what you can.
So is that part of that mental prep? Like, is that like something like sort of, alluding to with creating a list that I know there's like a milestone that if I just prep that mentally, I'm gonna be okay the next day because like, look, I've got that under control.
Yep.
Can you get to that stage mentally where you can feel like I've done that and then I can have switch
I
off or
mentally, I know that I can control, like have put into place the things that I know that I can control,
yeah,
and understand that the things outside. So your circle of
yeah,
control. So the circle of
okay,
control, I am in control
yeah,
of. Outside of that, I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to happen. May happen, but is definitely going to happen. I don't know what those are, but something's going to happen.
so that underpins like your philosophy or your approach. That so you know that's all happening.
Yes.
So that's obviously taking time to develop that mindset. Have you? Is that just naturally? Is that like a life skill because you use that outside of running, and that's how you apply?
Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah, excellent question.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the way I've grown up, the way my life is, like, I'm not a rigid person. Like, my um, way about planning and training and life, and it's a lot more fluid.
mm,
So if I need the sleep, I'll get the sleep.
yeah,
If, I'll have plan A, plan B
yeah.
already, because I know that I
Oh,
know the must-haves.
yeah,
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 if I can control the must-haves, where and how they happen,
yeah. Okay,
that's a bit more
yeah,
fluid, as long as I can control it. So it
yeah,
is, okay, I've got my bag of nutrition that I can control through the event.
yeah,
Outside of that,
yeah.
it'd be great to have some extra, so I can use whatever's on course, have
But
a bit of an
yeah,
understanding,
and you're looking like, and obviously being then aware, because I suppose like earlier we're highlighting that creates that mental space to then be able to deal with decisions. Is that once
Yeah,
you're actually in that situation, you can be aware that if I am going through an aid station or dealing with whatever's in front of me on the course or extra kilometers or I suppose negotiating where the course is, and those things that you've been through, you can
absolutely.
then go, "Oh, I need to focus on this because everything else is okay, but I can be attentive to what's in front of me at the
Again,
moment."
it's that 1 kilometer rule,
Yeah,
right? Like, focus on this 1 kilometer. So, again, with Fuji, the day before, trying to sort out the shuttle
yeah,
and how am I gonna get to the start line, because the start line from where the finish line was, like, 5 Ks away from where I was
yeah,
staying. The start line is, like, 50 Ks away,
yeah,
or, much, much further, with no regular buses or trains or anything. You had to get the shuttle.
yeah. So the understanding was that you went to the finish line and that there'd be a
There'd be a shuttle, and
to the start line.
to the start line, and it wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily the
the way there
case.
was. Yeah,
So I tried to sort that out the day before.
yeah,
Couldn't work it out. They said, "Oh, just turn up and it'll be fine," in this, like, really broken,
yeah,
communication of, "I don't know that you're understanding me, and I'm not entirely
yeah,
understanding you."
yeah.
So,
And hoping that execute the next day.
yep. So I was just like, "Okay." What I gather is, I know that there is going to be some sort of shuttle from this, or a bus, or from this location.
Yeah,
All I need to do is make sure I turn up there,
yeah,
and then I'll work it out. So that's the best information I can have.
yeah.
So the mental load is, maybe it'll fall
Box it up.
apart,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
control everything. I can go home now,
yeah,
go back to the
yeah, yeah,
room
yeah.
and set up all my gear, set up my drop bag, and have that.
Okay, yeah, you're 90 Ks in now to a run. great, you've dealt with all the sagas that happen to get to that stage. Where do you find your mental state to be able to then deal with the difficulties of what's now occurring? Now the mind starts to play the games. Talk through those types of experiences.
Yeah, and a big one was with states.
Yeah.
So going
Western
through that,
states,
yeah,
so
going through
America,
Western
yeah,
states. So I guess an easier experience because the English and everything.
yeah,
That's fine, but it was a huge event. And I think there was a lot of pressure on that one too because you might only get one shot at
yeah,
that. And a lot of people sort of looking at you going, "Oh,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah,
this is
you're over here, yeah,
amazing!" Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so
this is yeah,
you gotta perform in some way,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the preparation probably wasn't ideal leading into that.
yeah,
There was injuries, there was a whole range of things.
yeah,
And so moving through that, um, there definitely came a point where, my feet were cooked to the point like I waterlogged and it became macerated. So
yeah,
like I could not go downhill, easily. Like I certainly wasn't running because it felt like the skin was ripping off the bottom
yeah.
of my feet.
I
Like,
just, DNF.
yeah.
Different time with different pressures, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but this is as you said, that pressure
Yeah.
that you have on you, that you feel that you're applying to yourself, and now you're in the pain cave of circling. I get nauseous sometimes, it's, having to deal with that, when I'm out there, and so, what happens? Like,
And that's right, because that one in particular, like, I might never get another shot at
yeah,
that. So, like, yeah, I can pull the pin and DNF, go,
yeah.
"Okay, I'm done." Or I can look in and go, "Hang on, what's the time? How much like, what's the
So
cutoff?"
that's so there's a cut-off pressure as well, right?
It was chasing those cutoff.
Yeah.
They had to
So you've
put
got
me
a problem,
through
you
course.
wanna deal with it, you can't come back from that. So feet
No.
issues, but how do you try to work out, like, how do I keep moving? What is moving? Have I got enough nutrition now that I'm going longer? So
Yeah, going back to it again, that 1 kilometer,
yeah,
right? So certainly my feet, like I said, no good. So just keep moving. It's like, okay, let's just get to the next aid station and work it out. Is there something, you know, because if I have to pull it, then
yeah,
pulling it at an
okay,
aid station
yeah,
is the way to go.
yeah,
But don't make that decision yet.
yeah,
So, um, you know, I just need to focus on getting to that next point.
yeah,
So if I can get there, how much time I got? Heaps time? No
okay,
worries. I could walk it into that,
yeah,
or I could run it in, or
and let
whatever the case
something
may be.
reset you potentially, or just look at focusing on what's right in front of you. Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay,
So, in that moment, I just went, okay, I just got to one step in front of the other, make it to that aid
yeah,
station. I'm walking, people passing me, and then at this point, they've got paces and stuff, and
yeah.
looking at me, going, "Where's your pacer?"
That's okay, that's right,
I
because there was
don't have one.
yeah,
They're like, "Oh my god, how are you?"
yeah,
It's fine. So just one step in front of the other, get to that aid station.
yeah,
And I just need to focus on that.
yeah.
I'm not worried about the finish at this point. I'm
Did that
just
shift then? Like, I know, like, we can just rinse and repeat that, like,
yes.
understand that we can do that again and do that again and do that again, and that gets difficult or whatever. Did you have anything that changed the mindset? Because we do that on the anticipation that something's going to change, right? Something's gonna get better. Like, we're just gonna magically get okay. There's always something that you're trying to envision that's gonna change. Did you actually have anything that happened?
So
Or
because it didn't.
yeah,
So my thought was I'll get to the aid station,
yeah,
and because that particular event, they're really good with their medics,
yeah,
maintenance, all that
yep,
sort of
yep.
stuff. So I figure into aid station, get someone to look at my feet. They'll give me all the answers,
So
right?
yeah,
And it'll
yeah,
be fine.
yeah.
So I rolled into the aid station.
Mm,
She come up. Let's get a look at your feet. I'm like, sweet.
yeah,
We'll get some kind of shoot. All you need to do is this. Well,
yeah,
let's just do this,
yeah,
and then you'll be good. No worries. So I took my shoes off, took my socks off, she had a look, and went, yeah, they're macerated. You got any dry shoes and socks? 'Cause that's what, I'm
Yeah.
like, no, what am I carrying dry shoes or socks for? So, ah,
Yeah.
so
Okay. Yeah.
what do I do? Well, you can put your shoes and socks on and keep going if you want.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
There was no
Yeah.
resolve.
So in that, but then right in that micro, that moment, there's two things that are happening. You've set yourself up leading into that aid station with a mindset being, my problems are going to be solved.
Yeah.
Then they're not,
Yes.
and now you like, okay,
So then the
how,
decision, right?
yeah, I've
You
got to
can
get
fall
myself back
apart
out. Yeah,
or you problem
because you
solve.
can't just say, oh, well, Luton's is like 1K ahead. It's like it's another aid station.
Because around,
Yeah,
15, 20 Ks apart, right? You're walking it. That's a long way.
yeah,
So yeah, you have to have that strong resolve going in to, to to have that goal. And like, what are you here for? What are you doing? Um, so when no, there is no solution here.
So
Like,
I'll pull up the words. God, you got to go in, have the resolve to do that. The difficulty of that is, but I'm now, that's it. I'm now at, I can't take a minute from a month ago, 2 days ago, when I started this race. I'm now dealing with what's in front of me at the moment. Are you saying that my resolve of something, I can pull that out and use that as a card that easily, or the negotiation that's happening mentally? I'm interested because it's right on that line of going, no, or how do I keep going?
oh, absolutely, and definitely having that mental strength. I think this is why I probably don't get along with backyards, right?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah,
Because it is so easy because the end is there,
yeah,
yeah, but the end is also not there.
yeah.
Whereas in an event,
Mhm.
there's always something to keep
Yeah,
moving forward.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you know that there's a finish line, right? This will
yeah,
be over, no
yeah,
matter what happens
yeah.
when I get there.
So if I put myself past what I can do, there's no going back.
Yeah,
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 so in that moment where I'm sitting there, my feet are cooked, and
yeah,
she's like, "Well, feet are cooked, man.
yeah,
What do you want to do? You can pull the pin, or you can put your shoes back on and keep moving." That so there is, yeah, but there's no going. The options are, I'm 100 k's from anywhere,
mhm,
so uh, I have to. If I decide I'm done, then I'm waiting around for probably a few, like middle of the night, waiting around for a few hours before someone can extract me anyway. So go again, and also, so I've physically pushed myself to the brink of whatever, but also financially and physically
yeah,
as well. I've taken myself all the way to this country. It's
mhm,
like I go up the road to UTA and get 50 k's in, and this sucks. Come back next year.
yeah,
If I go to Colombia, Japan, whatever,
mm,
it's like, well, hang on. I'm 80 k's in. I've got to do it again. Oh, that's another half. Like I've done half now. I've got to go that same distance again. But when am I going to be back here?
yeah. So the mental,
Let's take
yeah.
another.
So the mental resolve, yeah. So the create the ability to do. So they are things, yeah, definitely play
Yeah.
into that, and obviously experience of being there and doing it all. It's two sides of it. It could be a positive. It's like, "Oh, I've been here. I know what's coming." It
Yes.
can actually be a bit of a negative as well. So I probably had a bit of that in COSIT, knowing what's to go, and
Yeah.
it's like, look, yeah, it's yeah, not walking that.
And that's sometimes it is the beauty of the unknown, right?
Mm,
And whether that's in that backyard format of, oh, I've never done this distance before. What can I go again?
yeah,
What can I go on?
yeah,
Or just physically, like, I've never been here before.
yeah.
Let's take another step.
Wow.
What's coming next? So
Mm,
finding something there
yeah,
that you can latch onto.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We're all the same mindset. Yeah, trying to pick that one thing and make it strong enough. So it's
Yeah.
not probably the words there as being is not has to be the strongest, but you making it strong enough because it's about what you're processing that into so that it is the one thing that matters right now and elevating it to that situation.
Yeah. Probably, and this comes way back, like, early on in that training, you know,
The
setting, like,
grind, yeah,
I know, like, I've paid for an event now. It's not until August, so
yeah.
it's you know, almost a year away, but less than that. But really, that's so far away. But I've set that resolve, and I'm going to go do
So the
that.
discipline, and not just it's not a physical discipline, it's the mental discipline of turning up and doing that are all building blocks that are
Yes.
creating towards that and the heartaches, using those heartaches and turn them into positives
Yeah.
allows you to build and use that as better resolve as you're moving forward. So the mix that's in there that I see in the challenge of trying to deal with like the hurt lock component, and the focus. So we've got the mental capacity of trying to deal with where I am logistically in this race at the moment. We haven't even talked about the pain component. Like
Yeah.
this is the result of it, but the pain leads towards these types of items, to get you that. Your feet obviously is a pain cape. There's the body, the ability to run, not able to run, all those types of things going on.
The stomach
Yeah, the
turning.
nutrition of the nausea component. How do you all got different ways that we sort of deal with that. So what do you find during that race? How to manage that pain component in the race?
Oh, so yeah. Good
Got a
question.
philosophy towards it, like
So
it doesn't hurt. That's what I'm hearing.
yeah.
No, we know it hurts. Right.
Well, I guess, yeah, sometimes you have to convince yourself
Yeah,
that it doesn't. Like, what is this pain?
the relativeness of it.
Yeah. I think I certainly come back often to like I said before, we get to do this,
Yeah,
right? And if I'm out there, there's a very distinct moment during Fuji when I couldn't take anything in. It
yeah,
was making me sick.
yeah,
And that's not so much a pain thing, but
yeah.
that's
The
your body
body's at the
revolting on
exertion
you.
level of what's occurring. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you can take those moments with the feet, like sitting at an aid station, going, "Okay, cool, I'm done." I'll just sit around and eat aid station food for a couple of hours.
Five more shots, right?
Yeah, right. Or talk to the foreign ladies.
It's all right. You're not talking to trees. It's okay.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Talking to trees, we know we're well gone.
Exactly. So you can do that.
Yeah.
Or you can think about it and go, well, I think, and States is again a great example of that, because there is, like, I looked at the stats of the entries this year, and it's I think it was in 2000-ish, it might have been more people entering for just over 300 spots, right? So there is hundreds of people who want to do that,
And many more.
and they don't
Yeah,
get to.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's just the ones who qualify.
So are you using those race experience and items to help you process the pain
Yeah.
into an area?
So it's like I can sit here and, "Oh, poor me, my feet hurt," or whatever. Well, I did it to myself.
Yeah.
Like, whether that's because I didn't prepare right, or oh, my stomach's turning, or maybe I did the wrong thing there and didn't fuel correctly, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I did it to myself. So keep going.
So you got a good rationale, like to be able to just like go, like, all right, put it aside and
Absolutely.
okay.
And then if that's not enough, you think about, there's, a few years ago, there was a bloke who did UTA 50 on crutches.
Yeah,
And
I know. Yeah, yeah.
like, that's wild. I've got two legs at work. There's a bunch of people sitting in hospital beds in wheelchairs and stuff who will not ever get the chance.
The mental
to
capacity, like
these
we're looking back to, like being able to separate the body, the processing from what you're actually doing, so that you can actually turn those things on. To reflect upon that and say, hey, wait a second, just chill. That's okay.
Yeah.
They're normal things that I'd be expecting to happen go
And
through
that's it.
their
And
race.
that's it. It is normal things. Like we're doing crazy things out there, doing these 100 miles, like, or, 200-300 Ks in the backyard.
Yeah.
Like that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like really? Really doing loops.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just crazy.
Very true.
So
It's
you're
interesting.
doing it to
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what you got to whinge about? Like,
Mm.
yeah, it's going to hurt. You knew it was going to hurt
And
when
that's
it
come through
started.
experience, right? So
Absolutely.
I think, it's going to be okay, it's safe. There's borderline items, and I think sometimes I find the reflection of what's hurt previously, becomes foundations of like what you're trying to deal with into the next race. So I find that, if it's certain muscle groups that aren't working and strength issues or it's your stomach, like you tend to, okay, cool. Look, I know I need to do that next time. And I do, quite a few times I find whatever the issue is disappears pretty quickly. Recent race, same scenario, left hip flex, can't lift my legs, not happening. And 2 hours later, it's like, right. And then 3 hours later, it's left. It's like they just come and go. So just knowing that those things come in waves, and they tend to, a few times heard definitely in the backyard sort of space, the same thing, that the pain level gets up to, it takes a long, it's a ramp slow, and then it sort of just sits there, and it doesn't really get anything worse. It sits at that level, and you can tend to manage that. And then your heart rate and a few other things tend to give you a bit of indicators around really sort of what's going on anyway.
And that's it. That resilience is obviously built over time. I know, like the first time I did a half, went and did the half, no worries, gave it a crack as hard as I could, ended up with some black toenails, whatever. Then sort of stepped up, did the marathon or marathon distance, and my knee was just cooked in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 Ks where I was walking most of it, into my first 50 where I had no idea, because first trail event, I had no idea. And crossing over the finish line, and my calves locking up, cramping. So that's all different things, So over time, like going into it, and you as a beginner and not really knowing these things is one thing. Once you build that resilience over time, you know that something's probably going to happen, whether it's calf, like muscular cramping, or your toes getting sore, or your stomach turning, or whatever. Something's probably going to happen. So you need to know that going in, and if you've got that mental resilience, you go, okay, here it is. Here's the thing that's gone wrong, and it's something completely new.
And then go with it. So in that space, what I struggle with balance of the pain cave, and I'm always interested. I challenge myself. What I'm saying, when I say I struggle with, is the balance of being sucked into backing off because I'm dealing with the pain cave component and still push under performance. So in a 100K, race, or 50, whatever those are, it's like I'm right on the borderline, and just trying to negotiate how the pedal, like how much effort am I putting into this race, and running the risk of exposing more pain or managing and actually performing. So there's like a fine line to be able to go, I'm dealing with it, slow down the walk. Oh, going to run one, not two. Those types of things, versus the challenge of going, how do I negotiate so I can keep pushing, because I know that I've got 4 hours left or 2 hours left of this race, and I know I can turn up the effort that I'm putting in. I know the pain's going to come, but just that there's a juggle that happens in there of being able to try to keep yourself in performance mode, not backing off because, oh gee, this is hurting and I need to slow down. There's a challenge that I find that more that I run, the harder that is becoming, because it can be easier to back off the further that you go in distance in races. Oh, I can walk this section, or I can go easy here because I can run later, and then just trying to keep that the volume turned up, the performance of it, and that's something I've really struggled. I say struggled. challenging, as I was saying earlier, challenging myself to just try to keep right on that line and navigate it. You know, UTA I had this year was right on that line. I've gone over, dealt with a lot of the outcome of that, and that was, you know, more hydration. If I was just one dial over, then it was a nightmare. And, you know, one of those races again where you go, gee, that was put everything into that, too much effort versus trying to get that dial right at that time.
And
Yeah.
one of the keys I going into most events that I'll do is knowing that, like, I'm not in a space where I'm ever going to win. You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to win. So,
Yeah.
so that's there's no pressure of that. So that's fine. But I'm always going to win because I go in and know that I want to be the guy out there having the most fun.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
mentally shift whenever it
yeah,
gets to that thing. It's like, no, dude,
yeah,
like, I'm out here having the most fun.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like, if you're hating it, then what are you doing? You know,
yeah, and that's a juggle.
never
It's
hate
not
it.
about hating it, you know,
Yeah.
it's hate or bitter or, you know, disappointed. They're all words that you can hold around, but there's also, you know, I'm just juggling between that. Sometimes you are just going to do the race and enjoy it, but then it's like, "Oh, actually, I want to," you know, you're trying to give that a crack, and you're
Oh,
just trying to get that
absolutely.
fine art of where do you go without dropping too far, to it, and you'll manage that and then go again. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting sort of manage around the pain cave, how far you throw yourself in and out whilst you're managing that mentally, in the race at the same time, which leads to me sort of what I think that part is around, like, we'll say focus. And whilst you're dealing with that event coming in and out of the waves of what's going on, you can very easily just drift off into, "Oh, I'm just gonna hike. I'm just gonna take a back seat. There are parts of that's taking off your effort, but then that can lead into, I didn't have a gel. I'm not being attentive to what's occurring in front of me. How do you find that you can nail your attentiveness or focus? You know, when you're 20 hours in, that's take an extreme case, but, you know, that could be 10 in relevance to people. But when you're past the ability to deal with that, how do you try to get your mental processing to deal with that one thing or two things that I need to keep moving forward on?
I think a lot of people tend to fall into I can't. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
when you can.
Yeah.
Like, you're absolutely capable of amazing, ridiculous things, you know.
Yeah.
So with the feed example at States, like, I could not run. Like, it was
Mm,
the pain was just too much. Skin was, like, literally felt
yeah.
like it was like tearing off with every
Yeah.
downhill step I took. But I can keep moving forward.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can absolutely keep moving forward. So being really honest with yourself,
Mm,
because it's, you know, like kids, you know, you talk to your children and you say, hey, you know, you have to get up and go to school, right? "Oh, I can't. I'm too
yeah.
tired." That, you can.
Yeah.
You can absolutely get up. There is no can't.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm too tired. That's not a reason
Yeah.
you
So it's a
can't go to
relevance of
school.
can I, yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. So you know, oh, my adductors cramping up. Oh, I can't run. Can you not run? Really? Like, take another step. Maybe take a little walking break.
yeah,
Can you run? Let's try a shuffle.
yeah.
Right? Let's try a shuffle. Oh, okay, that's all right.
It's coming back
Let's
again.
let's try and pick it up a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, so there's a bit of hill. Okay, we can hike this hill,
yeah.
but when we get to that top, we're going to try again.
So that's elements occurring.
Mm.
How do you get your mind to stay focused on back to back to back to back of doing that? Like, that's draining
Oh,
in itself.
yeah.
So how do you get your self-talk turned on to be able to do that?
Yeah. How do you drag yourself out of
Mm,
that pit, right?
yeah.
Um, and that's
Minus the caffeine, like, I get that that happen artificially outside of that.
of
But
course.
how do you, yeah, just trying to get yourself back into that focus of, like, you know, how do I do that? How do I get up that hill? How do I make that happen?
Yeah, and again, switching back, like, really think about what you're doing here. if you aren't dialed in on and dialing it, like I said, the event in August, dialing in now. Like my training at the moment is rubbish, guaranteed.
Yeah.
But why did I buy that ticket? Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to put myself through months of, hard work and intervals and up and down the mountains and, all that sort of stuff. Went out there in, just after the storm today to essentially slide down a hill. Why am I doing that? And you need to have that dialed in, whether you're just having fun or it's an experience or just doing the distance, or you need to have something really locked in that you can come back to in those moments to go, like I'm really trying to chase this sub 14 goal, or the experience of finishing this event, like whether you're doing 30, 40, 50 hours or if it's your local 10K, what are you locking into?
So does that mean simplifying it into, so sometimes it can take the case where, like, if I just have to get that one thing, the pinnacle item, remove everything else for a second, and like that's the reason why I'm doing this. If you can find that,
Yes.
at the end of the day,
you need to have that dialed in. Like I say, and it can be hard, like you get to a point where this sucks. Like I said, when I couldn't take it in at Fuji and it was that was tough. It's like, oh, okay, I've just got one foot in front of the other, but what am I doing here? No, I came here for a reason.
And it can take time just to work through that. Right. So that can just be the moment of time where you have to actually slow down.
Yes.
And get that thing, number one, back in the mindset again.
Mind shift. Like bring back that focus. Yeah. Because you can get locked in on the thing that's just in front of you. Yeah. So, that's what I'm trying
to balance between those two items, because you can't just rinse and repeat the 1 kilometer, which may only work for a period of time. But then
you've got to have that end goal as well, like, or whatever it is, whether I'm here to be my best self, or achieve a distance goal, or see something, or pick that person, and I just want to chase them down. I want to get in front of them.
Gotcha.
And sometimes you might not, right? But if you've got
it's fine for half an hour. To keep you focused on what you're trying to keep pushing ahead on.
And that's it. And maybe it's a shift in focus. Like stop focusing on the knee that's hurting. Like focus on what else. Like have a look around. Like is it
mental snapshots? Of what you're doing.
This is amazing. I've never been to this spot before, or I could, I did this last K when it was like 10 minutes. Like that was crazy. Wonder if I could do the next one in like 9:50. Like find those little bits.
I think one part of that, in balancing of that is just being present in that item. Like you're sort of saying is like you get sucked into the focus on the knee or the items that are going on. It's just trying to come back for a second and not get so far down in everything that's going on, and is actually just trying to split and create that sort of separation, which I was sort of talking about earlier, that allows you a little bit to be able to sort of focus what's going on or evaluate what's going on, so you can start to pick 1 or 2 things that you're working on to move forward. And as you tick those things off, then it allows you to work on. They're like little milestones of processing. So, okay, that's nutrition, I've got that sorted, no problem, that's a positive. Negotiation up or ticking positive items up. It's like, okay, well, I know this part of the course, and I've done that now, and you can tick that off because I can process what's in front of me. So having some presence of what's occurring allows you to create some milestone progression. So then what you're trying to work towards feels like it's getting a little bit easier because there's less to process moving forward.
It might be as simple as that. Like you have a list going into an event or a list of your day of work. I need to tick off these things, right? And so sometimes in those moments, what's the list? The knees are a bit sore, the feet are cooked, or this is cramping. Okay, how do I resolve these things, and that's part of the training, mentally and physically, to be able to resolve those sort of things. I read a story about a guy, and he'd deliberately go out in his training runs and do something that he knew would railroad something. So he'll go out and deliberately wear some, I don't know, some shorts that he knows he can't do any more than 20 Ks in it because he will chafe.
And then
so go and do the 30 Ks, get the chafe. How do I manage that on the fly?
I had a few chats about these interesting conversations on during with Josh while we're in the deep. Like, how do you get to practice nutrition, fatigue, stomach fatigue, like we were talking about earlier? Just how do you get to do those things? Like, everyone goes, oh, practice with your nutrition, train with nutrition. It's great. 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. It's not 10, 12, 20, 30 hours. How do I put myself in a situation when I've had 20 gels and I'm gagging on the next gel? But you just,
because some of that stuff you can't.
Well, you say you can't, but then I'll railroad it. So there are chafing shorts, like, as an example, like this is what you're alluding to. I'm just trying to, on the fly going, well, that was, we only just thinking about that 2 weeks ago, about you get to these situations where you don't get to experience that until you're at that stage, if it happens or not. And then when it happens, it's like, how do I work out through this? And even though you experience some of these items, you've got ideas. I don't want to be in that situation, but how do I know that those gels or whatever those items are going to work when it's 20, 30 hours? Backyard is a whole nother world for that. So
funny story about that. I accidentally sort of discovered a way to sort of railroad yourself nutritionally on a run, because I used to make my own nutrition sort of balls, essentially. I found a cool recipe. Experiment with those and keep them in the freezer so they'd stay good. And I went out for a run once, and it was like, big run, 20 Ks or so. I pulled one out, and okay, time for the nutrition and eating it, and it was bad. It was really
so what do I do now? Start working.
So there's it's not ideal. And I don't think, like, that's one of those things. You can't deliberately make a bad batch of something that's going to be off or gross or something, so that when you get to it, you go, ooh, But
some ideas. Someone give us some ideas about how do you handle a nutritionist.
Make yourself a slightly off batch of something.
It's that next level of processing, and what happens and how do you deal with that sort of stuff. It's all part of the experience.
So interested, and I want to take this in because I think we're moving into talking about mental load, and mental health aspects, and those sort of things. A big part of what I see with you and a lot of your events and stuff is you'll team up with someone and support them and help them train, and then to the point where you're like, and I've done it a couple of times, you're like, right, I'm not even worried about my event this time. I'm going in to support you, right? And I'm going to run with you, or together we're doing this. That's a whole other mental load, right? Because now you're taking on not only your own journey, because if you go, like, so running is essentially a self-support, right? Like, you see a lot of people going and doing, I'm raising money for this. No, you're running a thing for yourself, and that's secondary. Like, it's a selfish sport. But you're going into some of these training, and like doing big stuff. Like 100 Ks is no small feat, regardless of how used to it you are. It's still 100 Ks is still 50 Ks. So when you're putting in the time and the effort to train to these things, and the goal is somebody else's goal, so I don't know, can you talk a little bit about the mental load? Because potentially that can be, now if you break down and I'm going to let them down, right? If they break down, but we're only 100 k's in and we're
Yeah.
doing the miler,
Mhm.
do I keep going and leave them?
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
and I think
definitely.
some of
Yeah.
those are hypotheticals that haven't
Yes.
happened, but
Yeah.
there's still a mental load of sharing that journey. And then,
Yeah.
particularly in maybe one or two of those cases where, that finish line, the glory is theirs, and you've just been along for the journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Not exactly,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I suppose that's like yeah, and parallel to pacing, someone, sort of similar.
Yeah.
Um, it's initially you gotta make that decision to to do that, and there's 2 different types, of that. Like, the first one I know, I think with Dave, first time doing 100 kilometers, was that it was gonna be out there for a long time. Um, it's fine. It's not gonna be a UTA year, sure. And again, it will take the word, around that sort of thing where you're choosing to do running itself. Well, there is. I've picked other events during the year to fill my need. Sure, that's fine. I'm gonna go do an event and take someone else on the journey, and you are part of, definitely, that experience. But when you see other people achieve achievements, for where Dave was at that time, and for context, Dave was, I think, 70 or 71 and doing 100 Ks for the first time at UTA, and that's a massive, um, yeah, it's a big race for that age, and,
First ever 100K.
first, yeah,
Yeah.
and, I think it was, say, 22, 21, 23, whatever the time was. It's overnight, and I hadn't run, think at that stage, through the night previously.
Mm.
So what for me, it was like, okay, that's a cool thing to do, and let's go, right? Yes, it's slower and everything else, things that I probably didn't think about at the time. You're doing training, I didn't train slower, so that's something that I learned from that experience.
Mm.
But definitely at that stage, I don't think there was ever a plan to say that we're not doing this because I'm not going to finish if someone else is not going to finish because I'm there for their race, right? So artificial pacing, at the end of the day. The miler, in this case, that we did, that was a decision that we're both going to go do the miler, knowing it was Josh's first one. It's called, we're doing it together. Conversation about the outcome of what happens if someone finishes or not finishes, um, didn't get brought up till the night before. As you said about logistics changed a little bit. We've got one car. Josh's partner was driving, and my daughter was going with her, to the aid stations. And there was the dilemma of what do we do if we're pacing it different, because we've had this at UTA, just how well those things have happened, and they've worked out okay. At the end of the day, once you see your time not hit, for example, a 14-hour goal, at the, once that's not happened, it's like, doesn't matter. Your
Mm.
time's your time now. At the end of the day, doing the advance once your a goal hasn't actually occurred. But yeah, leading into the miler, we both said like, "Oh, we're going to go," but we didn't actually have the hard conversation of what really happens. And it's hard because it depends when it happens in the race.
Yeah.
If you're 60 k's in and someone's really struggling, yeah, you're going to continue. When it's 100 k's in, and one person's struggling, you have a period of time of negotiating of what's occurring. You want them around the corner, let's go, like, let's get 110, 120. Yeah, like, my feeling is you're home now, right? When you're at 95 and you're heading towards 100 and you already know it's, walking mode, and you're both like that, and, same thing, nutrition issues occurring and, nauseous, and you're like, we're at walking downhill mode. That was a conversation simply as asking where you're at.
Yeah.
And then eventually, up to that point in time, probably couldn't talk too much because it was so windy. Like, you couldn't really talk a lot. So it was just keep going. But yeah, I had already got in my head at that stage that I was much at the limit, but I didn't want to say that to Josh, knowing that I would walk it out with it if that's what it's going to be. But it was a kind of like, where are you at? And then once he sort of said, yeah, he's already passed his sort of limit, physically, then that was really the first time where both our knees had gone. And it's like, okay, well, let's start to work out. And that started, let's get to the next aid station. Not back to this one, but the next aid station. Get over the next hill, big hills, and then we'll make a decision. But then, yeah, very quickly within a KO2, it was very evident that we were only just going to make it back to this aid station and pull the pin. But yeah, that was the conversation. Mindset wise, it's hard because with two people there, if you both make that decision to pull, and you can both convince yourself to do that. I haven't been in that circumstance sort of previously, so I think I had to get to the point where I was probably beyond, and then that made it a lot easier. Sort of then both to have that conversation about where we're at, and yeah, it was easy to DNF. But no, not first. Technically, 2 months in the backyard.
Oh, that's all right.
The day, yeah, we all DNF.
It's the only option.
Yeah, almost got one.
Yeah, almost every. Yeah, just the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. But maybe talk a little bit about, so let's touch back on that mental health piece, versus physical health, because we talked a little bit about the disappointment, and how that affects you.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are some of the strategies you use to tackle that? Because there was the big goal, like super pertinent right now, right?
Yeah.
Super big goals.
Yeah.
And didn't quite get there.
Yeah.
And then there was a contracted sort of piece with the events being closed.
Yeah.
Then, because I think the majority of people would probably reflect and feel this way about you train for an event, you train, and there's this big goal, and you go out and you do it, and then it's like, yeah, this is elation, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the come down. But and that post-event depression.
Blues, yeah.
But if you don't get what you want, like you don't quite hit that goal, you DNF, that can even spiral it a bit harder. Yeah. You've still got to come back to life, because this is the hobby. This is not reality, right? This is just the fun stuff.
But for many, it's their identity, right? So the hard part about that, and this is the balance of the two items that in this topic sort of sits, is that how to deal with it. It's not dealt with, it's how to deal with, because you're always going to reflect upon what it is. And you like talking about earlier about the biggest critic, with this person to then go get about the things that you've done, and then realizing like what have you loaded behind, back to back of whatever those things are, and they have an influence. And then on one side you go, let's take 6 months off, focus on an event and do all that, and then you can be disheartened the other way. So I've always been just rolling to the next thing, but by having that, you can't then always go back and reflect and going, I'm disappointed that I didn't get 3 A race outcomes for the year. No, I had all those experiences. I've done all those things. It makes me hungry for the next item, but you can't go that hard on yourself on that at the time. I think part of the fact that you've put everything out there leaves you vulnerable for that reflection. And how do you deal when you're in that vulnerable moment? I think, as I said earlier, talking about it. Number one, talking. Like, obviously, I've got a coach, so there's obviously a feedback loop that's in that allows you to verbalize. And I think it is that part of verbalizing more than just saying I wrote it down or talking to yourself. But I think when you actually verbalize and talk to someone about that, you get a bit of balance of what's occurring. So I think that's the most important part of that takeaway, is about talk to someone, because that will then flush out any part of the things that are actually going on, how you feel about it. Someone was, mate, yeah, good. No, that was crap. Like, no, that sucked. Yeah, cool. But okay, that's it. Like, move on. Like, what can you do much about that at the point in time? So that's balance. Then you're finding another event's always the item. I think that's part of that balance we're sort of talking about is that, well, whether it's an event or going trail running and maybe that's your escapism, those things are difficult because I can I've done it for years and just sink myself into, um, that mode, and I'll go for a run. I'll 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 need that as a crutch to be able to release, the anxiety and all those other things, stresses that are occurring. But when you can't do that, then that's the hard part, and I think just getting active is at least a stepping stone towards that, and I think that whether it's gym, stretching, walking, coffee, catch up, something, all those things just get you active, and that creates that little building block to allow then you to continue to process and then allows you to sleep. Like all those things that sort of flow together, gets your rhythm back in place again. That allows you to, deal with the angst that's
Mm.
occurring.
'Cause it's definitely one of the things I sort of think, um, just get out of the house,
Yeah, yeah. It's something
like
being active, getting sunshine, like the sun, getting the sun, getting
yeah,
out with people, doing something, even if you're not with anyone. Like I just might go for a walk, and I'm out in public to keep it simple. That just takes away, my inner thoughts. Which is not to to get rid of them,
yeah.
but it allows me to take its first couple steps, and then I find they're just building blocks
Because
of
often,
moment.
for, the masochistic runner,
Mm.
that mental health, personal therapy sort of
Yeah,
piece
yeah,
is the running.
yeah,
So when you can't do that, or you need to take a break for
yeah,
it's a physically induced break
yeah,
that, yeah, like going running's not the wisest thing. So therefore, the mental health piece
yeah.
dives in, and you start spiraling into, oh, I'm not running. Oh, I'm
It's
going to
it's
get
a
fat. Oh,
it's yeah, all layers are coming at you. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think a really good strategy there is just get out of the house. Like no, I hate it. It sucks. I don't want to.
yeah,
I do. Yep, just step outside. Take again that
yeah,
1 kilometer. Take
yeah,
one step. Get outside. It doesn't have, I'm not talking about running,
yeah,
just about go and do something
yeah,
for yourself.
yeah,
Like you say, go do the coffee thing, go
yeah,
and hang out with a friend, go for a walk on the
yeah.
beach, go
It's
just
yeah,
get out.
changes the scenery,
Yeah.
which is quite important because you're stuck in that for a moment, and that scenery change just allows the next thing to happen typically. So once you do that, then that unlocks the next progression, which
Round the
I
block.
suppose leads into, probably where we're at talking about like who your circle
Yeah.
or your connection group, right? Because that sort of defines, being having able to have these conversations, right? If you're bottled up and you don't have someone to share that sort of conversation with, right? It's all manifesting, right? So I
Yeah.
find that having someone, even if it's one or two people that you're able to, to train with or, share, they're having the same thoughts, we're all doing the same activity. So we're all processing the same internal thoughts of what's going on, but it allows you to, verbalize that. And whether or not that's keeping accountable, training, mindset conversation, just communicating how you feel is very important about picking, like, well, it's not about picking the right, but picking and going and doing things. So, back to the group, the social group runs, the trail group runs at the beginning is by getting out and engaging, you start to find other people that you click with, and conversations just happen while you're out on the trail.
And that social connections such a key thing, because I think the more you connect with people, the more I certainly find that everyone has the same thing. Oh, everybody else is out there having a good time. Oh, that
Mm.
person, like, on the Strava
Surface,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
they,
yeah,
oh, that person's doing
yeah,
20Ks already. Oh, wow.
yeah.
Oh, that person's doing better than I am. That person's doing better than
Mm.
I am. Oh, everybody's had this
Yeah,
amazing life that I don't have.
yeah,
And they're sitting at home thinking the same
same thing,
thing. It's
yeah,
like, oh, Bilbo's just been up
yeah,
to Cozzy, like,
yeah,
oh, he's, oh, Bilbo did Reds,
yeah,
or like he's amazing,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Not seeing that
yeah,
downtime where it's like, oh God, that sucked.
yeah,
I hate it, whatever it
yeah,
is. Me, like,
and
hardly running at the moment. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
and allowing to have that connection allows to have those conversations and the realization that that's actually normal, you know?
yes, everybody has something that,
Mm,
they're shooting for, that they're looking at something like, "Oh, they're doing better than me," you know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it
yeah.
doesn't matter, if you are talking about that marathon distance, if you're
Mm,
doing 6 hours, um, the 6-hour person's looking at someone doing 5.5. The
100%.
5.5 person's looking
Yeah,
at someone doing
always.
5.
Everyone is looking up, ahead of them and not reflecting upon their own journey.
And sometimes you
Yeah,
just gotta look back sometimes and
yeah,
go, "Ah," you know,
yeah,
"Hey, come along, like,
yeah,
you're killing it, man, like,
yeah,
let's go. Oh, you crossed in front of me, doesn't matter.
yeah,
You got out and got it done,"
yeah,
you know?
cool.
So keep that in perspective, I think,
Yeah,
because that's definitely that spiral of where the mental health can go down.
good chat.
Yeah,
All right, we're up.
definitely, man.
Done.
So, um, oh, awesome chat. Thank
Yeah,
you very much. Um Well, that's another episode of Endless Trail. So kind of
weird.
you
That's a long night. Wow. That's another episode of Endless Trail. Appreciate you've hanged on listening to the podcast. As we said earlier, we've got some runs coming around, catch up on the socials, on the podcast, etc. Let us know if you've got questions, some feedback about, I think we'll talk about how to induce nutrition fatigue, some ideas. Let us know.
yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
Give us all the ideas. Let's trial some things.
Nope. Well, see you on the trails.
See you on the
Enjoy.
trails.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look out for Downhill December.
Woo.
Woo!
All right. Now we